All righty. As somebody who went through a divorce, I can tell you that it was almost debilitating at times. And I'm actually stealing that word from an article written by my guest, who I'm going to introduce in a minute. But when I read her article that she published for Divorce Girl Smiling, I was like, yes, that's how it felt, debilitating. You just feel like it's taking everything out of you. It's so overwhelming. You feel vulnerable, hopeless, and what you really need is resilience, like something to snap you out of it. Now, another thing my guest said, which I promise I'll introduce her in a second, is that resilience is not about faking it till you make it or pretending everything is fine. Okay, example, we have to edit that cough out. It's not about ignoring your it's not about ignoring your feelings. It's not about using this like fake positivity to cover up your pain. But resilience is about the ability to bounce back from challenges, adapt to difficulties, and stay flexible in how we think and respond. This is all written by my guest. Her name is Marty Winder Adams, and Marty is a certified divorce transition coach. She's been a coach for 10 years, and I am delighted to talk about resilience with her. Hi, Marty.
Jackie, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I'm really excited to be here because I think this is a really important topic.
Well, it is. And I want to tell my listeners a little bit about Marty. Before we started recording, we were talking, and I said, you know what, Marty? You have this positive energy. You admit, no, you don't admit, you emit positivity, and really you always put me in such a good mood. So I have to believe that your clients are always so happy to talk to you because you have a very positive outlook on everything, and we've talked quite a few times this past year. So thank you for that, and thank you for everything that you do for your clients.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, that just makes my heart happy. Thank you, Jackie.
All right, so let's talk about resilience. And Marty wrote this article called Five Steps to Building Resilience During Divorce. Tell me before we start listing the five things, what about resilience is it that people need to get over this debilitating feeling?
Yeah, and that's where I think is something that's really important, Jackie, is I see resilience as the ability to see ourselves getting through tough times. It's more than confidence and it's more than competence. It's a true belief that we have the resources, the ability, the skills, the talent, the tools needed to get through tough times. Because I hate to say it, but tough times are going to happen. I don't care how well you prepare for life, things are going to blindside you. It might be a divorce, it might be an illness, it might be the death of a spouse or a parent. It could be the loss of a job, the loss of a pet. I mean, all these things are going to happen in life. We can't control them, but if we get stuck in the negativity, we can't move forward, we can't change, we can't enjoy life. So that's really in my heart. I want every one of my clients to have that feeling that, yeah, divorce is tough. Yes, there's going to be a lot of difficulties. Yes, there's going to be a lot of things I don't like about it, but I know that I can get through this, and I know I'm going to be stronger, better, faster when I get out on the other side.
Now, one thing I always hear people say, and it always kind of bugs me, they say, oh, children are so resilient. Children are resilient. And the reason it bugs me is because what do you just expect your children to get over the divorce quick because they're resilient? But I think that they're right in the fact that children are resilient. So what do children have to be so resilient that adults don't?
I think it's what adults have that children don't. And here's what it is. I think adults have this sense of what if. They're always focused on the what if, right? Kids live in the moment. Kids don't think about, well, gosh, mom and dad are going through a divorce and I'm 7, 8, 9, 10. How is this going to affect my college tuition when I'm 22? Kids don't do that. They deal with what's happening right in front of them. And as adults, we've got a lifetime of conflating and exaggerating and making mountains out of molehills. And we spend so much time worrying about the what ifs that we derail ourselves. Whereas kids just don't have that. They don't have that baggage that they're carrying around with them.
So true. I never even thought of it that way, but that makes 100% sense. All right, 5 steps to building resilience during divorce. So now that we know what we want, resilience, how do you get it? And I'm going to list each step that you wrote, and then you kind of just explain what you meant. So, step number 1, see yourself as capable of managing challenges and embrace visualization. Tell me about that.
Well, visualization has been around for a long, long, long time. It's not something new, and I certainly did not create it, or I didn't create a method or anything like that. But it really is literally seeing yourself being successful and coming out the other side of divorce. There's a really famous study, and I'm going to throw this in here. I hope you don't mind if I just do a little bit of geeky stuff, because I really like the geeky stuff. So there was neurologist, neurobiologist by the name of, oh my gosh, his last name was Alvarez Pasquale Leon, or Leon Pasquale. I may be getting that mixed up. I should have had that in front of me. I'm sorry. But anyhow, he was in Harvard, and what he did was he had people come in and practice playing a piano. And he actually had them sit down and play the piano for a set number of hours, for a set number of days. And he wired up their brains and watched what parts of their brain lit up. Then he had some other people come in and not actually play the piano, but just imagine playing the piano, like pretend, like visualize in their head that they were actually moving their fingers and playing a piano. And what he found was the exact same parts of the brain lit up, whether the person was actually playing the piano or just imagining they were playing the piano. So there's a lot of research into this visualization. When we see ourselves being successful, we set up the foundations to be successful.
Wow, I love it. So it's kind of like if you just visualize like what your life's going to be like. This is the divorce is going to be in your past. You're going to be maybe dating or remarried in a few years or whatever it is that you want. Maybe, a job or seeing your kids growing up and having Thanksgiving at your house or whatever. If you visualize it, it will actually help you make it happen. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it's not the same as manifesting, which I know is a term that people use a lot. It's really triggering your brain to look for opportunities to create that future for yourself. And so how many times when we're thinking of things do we think of what we don't want? Like sometimes if you ask somebody, what do you want in the divorce? They will say, well, I don't want this and I don't want that. And if you're thinking about the don'ts, you're setting your mind up to look for those negative things in life. If you're looking for the positives, then you're going to open up your eyes, your eyes and your mind to take advantage of those opportunities, which is part of being resilient, right? Being adaptable, taking the opportunities as they come to you, and then moving forward with them and feeling good about what you're doing.
Okay, what if you don't know what you want? What if you don't even know what to visualize? You're like, I have no idea. That's how I was when I got
Right.
divorced.
Right. And so I think what you can do, what I recommend with my clients, is to sit down, and this may take days, this may take weeks, this may take a little bit longer, and it may be really hard to do it right in the thick of the divorce. But definitely start thinking, if I didn't have restrictions around me, What would I like to be doing? And I know that that sounds a little bit, like when you're kids, what would you like to be when you grow up? Again, we imagine all kinds of amazing things that we could be, right? So kind of give yourself that freedom to just play around with it. And I guarantee if you play around with it, you're going to find something that is going to really resonate with you. Maybe you want to work in a volunteer role. Maybe you want to help other women going through divorce or men going through divorce. Or maybe you want to be a better parent to your child. Or maybe you want to go back to school. Discover those kind of hidden wants that you never had an opportunity to explore, and then start seeing, is that something you want to move towards? And then the more that you see that, the more that the opportunities are going to come open for you.
I love that so much because when people are getting divorced, they're almost like afraid to dream. They're afraid. And I say dream big and go for big, big, big. Because if you go for the biggest, you'll get like, they say if you shoot for the moon, you'll get to the stars. And so don't be afraid and know that you deserve to dream and envision this wonderful life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, it's not like you're going to be a failure if that doesn't happen. But if you don't even give yourself permission to consider it, then you're never going to take the steps to even potentially start moving in that direction. And I think that is one of the things in divorce that we can do, is we can, like you said, just dream big and see what comes out, see what's been maybe rolling around in your head for years and years and years, that gosh, I'd like to do that, but I never had the time, or I didn't have the freedom, or I didn't have the ability. Maybe that has all changed during the divorce.
You're listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. And today I am here with certified divorce transition coach Marty Winder Adams. And Marty and I are talking about resilience, and specifically 5 steps to building resilience during divorce. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we have 4 more steps to go. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Divorce Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. What is resilience? That's what we're talking about today. We're also talking about 5 steps to building resilience during divorce. My guest is a wonderful divorce coach. Her name's Marty Winder Adams. Marty has been a divorce coach for 10 years. She's also a board certified executive leadership coach. She was also a domestic violence advocate. And Marty, tell my listeners, if they like what they're hearing and they want to have a consult with you and work with you, where can they reach you?
Best place, go to the website www.divorcecoach4women, and that's the number 4, divorcecoach4women.com.
Okay, wonderful. Let's move on to the second step, which is shake it up and get out of the rut. That is hard. People right now are listening going, "How? I just can't get out of this rut." Like that's what I was doing.
Absolutely. And so think of rut as a comfort zone. And we know enough now about neuroplasticity and the brain's ability to create new pathways and new ways of thinking and new ways of experiencing life. And that is so important for a lot of reasons, not just for your divorce, but for mental health, for staying mentally sharp, mentally clear, being able to problem solve, being creative. So shaking it up, start really simple, really, really small. Try a new recipe, something you've never cooked before. Just pick up a recipe book and try something. Take a new route home. Go to a new restaurant that you've never eaten at. Maybe even something as simple as sleeping on on a different side of the bed. If you're married, you have that side of the bed that you've slept on. Well, if you're going through a divorce, you got the whole bed. Try something different. Go over to the other side. Maybe it's something new at work. Maybe you're going to take a course, or maybe you're going to go to the gym. Whatever new things that you can bring into your life that stimulate you intellectually, physically, spiritually, however you're going to want to make those shaking up things. Just start small, and then as your comfort level goes, look at bigger and bigger steps to take that way.
Okay, now Marty, I was listening to this and I was thinking, people might listen and go, okay, what good is it going to do for me to sleep on the other side of the bed or try a new recipe? And something clicked with me, and you're exactly right, because here's what it does for you. You do one little thing and it gives you this courage and drive to go further and further and further and further. Like there's a method where people who are afraid to fly, I forget what the method's called. So they take them to the airport one day and then they just sit in the airport and they don't do anything else. And then the next day they come back and they go to the airport and they go to the gate. And then the next day they actually get on the plane, but they don't go anywhere. And then, and so this is the same concept. If you can sleep on the different side of the bed and you slept well and you didn't fall apart and cry yourself to sleep and cry all night, you're going to wake up the next day and say, wow, okay, now I feel like I can do something else. And I just love that. And that's what gets you out of the rut and gives you that resilience.
Exactly. That's a perfect example. I love that one.
All right, step number 3 to get resilience is to develop your sense of control over your life. Tell me about that.
Yes, I think this is a big one for people who are going through a divorce, who may have been with a toxic partner, somebody who controlled a lot of the day-to-day stuff in the relationship. And some people have been through really horrific emotional and financial abuse, those kind of things. So starting to take control of your own life can be really overwhelming. And I want to acknowledge that it takes a lot of courage when you have been gaslit and brainwashed and your life has been distorted to all of a sudden now start making decisions on your own. So really take a look at what you can control, let go of what you can't. Here's one thing you can't, whatever the courts are doing, you have no control over that. Let that go, but focus on what you can do to start feeling like your life is coming into control. So, and again, start really simple. Whatever that looks like. Maybe setting your own schedule. If you've always done, like, here's a good example. I always do my laundry on Sunday. I live by myself, so it's pretty easy. I just do laundry on Sunday. And you get into that rut and you pretty soon it becomes almost like I have to do my laundry on Sunday. Like I'm no longer in control of it. Somehow my laundry is in control of what I'm doing on Sunday. So just saying, you know what? I can control when I choose to do my laundry. I can control when I choose to go to the store. I can control when I choose to return phone calls. Those kind of things are all things that we can control. So really doing that, looking at where your strengths are, building on your strengths, and then acknowledging, yeah, I've got some work to do in some areas, and then taking control, reading a book, listening to a podcast. Doesn't have to be big things. Maybe researching some professionals in your area that can help you. That's all a part of taking control of your life and feeling good about being in control of your life.
Now, this to me sounds like a big step that a divorce coach can help you with. The way that you were just talking, I said, okay, now I can see where the coaching's coming in because people need someone to bring it out of them. And that's, I think, what divorce coaches do, or some of what divorce coaches do. They give you homework that, in other words, they ask you all these questions and it forces you to take a look at your life and what you want. And they know the right questions to ask so that you can figure out what is going to help you get that resilience back, get through your divorce, and then live like a good, happy post divorce life. The other thing I was going to say is that I just was in a conversation with one of my Divorce Girl Smiling trusted professionals, Hannah McKittrick, who is a culinary and wellness coach. And I'm taking one of her cooking classes and I'm so enjoying it. And if you would have asked me, I was the worst cook in the world. And now I am embracing this. And anyway, Hannah kind of infuses a little bit of like coaching as it pertains to nutrition and stuff like that. And she said, like, you know, ask your body what it wants. If your body doesn't want to do laundry on Sunday, let it go. You don't have to. And when you were saying that, Marty, it made me think of this. If your body wants pizza, go get the most fattening pizza in the world and go eat the whole thing if you want. And don't feel guilty about it. That's what your body wants. But your body also is going to tell you, like, you know what? I want vegetables, because that's how you like listen to your body and listen to yourself and make decisions based on like what you want, and cut yourself some slack. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't have to do anything really.
Right. Right. Yeah. I love that. That's a
And I
perfect
don't mean
example.
you don't have to do anything, like you should sit around on the couch all day. I'm
Right.
saying, like, don't beat yourself up because, oh, I missed my Monday morning yoga class. Okay, if your body didn't want to go to yoga, forget it. Give yourself a break. Instead, say, you know what? I'm going to go out for a walk. It's beautiful out. This is what I choose to do. You still did something really good for yourself.
Yes, and then this is what I think, this when you get that sense of control, you also have to celebrate it when you do it. And that exactly what you said, being flexible and then saying, look at me. I had something came up. I couldn't make my yoga class. I could have just gone, oh, to heck with it. I'm not doing anything for the rest of the day. But I chose to go out and walk for 45 minutes. So good for me. Like we have to cheer ourselves on.
For sure. For sure. We're women, I think, are just so hard on ourselves, and I just don't even know why. Step number 4 to get resilience is infuse your life with positivity. Marty, I just said how positive you are at the beginning.
Well,
Okay, take it away.
Well, absolutely. And you know what? This is something that I think takes a lot of it takes a little bit of effort to bring positivity in your life when you're going through a divorce, because I know when I went through my divorce, I didn't really want to sit around because everybody wanted to ask me about the divorce. So I didn't really want to go out to those kind of social situations. And it was easier to just kind of come home and just isolate but whatever you do, bringing joy into your life doesn't mean you have to be like laugh out loud enjoying life. It means you have to be feeling good about what you're doing, and that has to feel positive. So like you said, if you enjoy gardening, maybe gardening is your enjoyment. Maybe it is something from the past. Maybe you when you were a kid you really loved drawing or painting or singing or dancing. You can have fun in the living room. Just put on Alexa or whatever you've got and put on your favorite song and just sing and dance. Nobody even has to be there. That can be a joyful experience. Um, Anything that you can do to anchor yourself in that positivity. And one thing I always recommend is get rid of toxic people in your life. So those people that want to sit around and just talk about negativity and talk about how bad your ex is and how bad things are going to be after the divorce and how unfair life is. Those people don't have a place in your life when you're in a difficult situation. So I'm not saying you have to not be friends with them, but keep them at an arm's length or limit your time, spending time with them. Like keep it to short little phone calls or short little coffees or something like that, but don't spend a lot of time with those people that just suck the joy out of your life. Just so
I don't
important.
even think short little coffees. I say nothing. But, Marty, everybody talks about how important it is to meditate. And I think that what you were talking about, whether it's gardening or putting on Alexa music in your house and listening and dancing or whatever, those are forms of meditation. So is cooking. So is anything that you are doing that is bringing you joy and positivity. And so if you're not a meditator, like I'm just not, I do meditate while I'm in like a yoga class or something, but I just don't find it beneficial for me. I just can't sit still. But I do think there are many forms of meditation because, in my mind, and tell me if I'm right, meditation is about being present and not thinking about anything negative in your life and just being in the present and having gratitude for what you're doing. So, what's the difference if you're sitting there meditating without a thought in your head, or you're cooking, or you're doing something you love? What's the difference? Am I missing something here?
No, no, I think you're right. And the more that, because I'm not a person that can sit and meditate. either. But I have found a couple of apps that are really helpful that have guided meditations, and some of them will have music in the background, or they'll have like the sounds of the ocean or the sounds of a rainstorm or something. And they're short, like 3 to 5 minutes. For me, I'm maxing out at 5 minutes. But I do find that there's a real change in my stress levels throughout the day on mornings when I do that little 5 minute exercise and mornings when I don't. Like, I notice a difference. And I'm like you, I started it with the end of yoga classes, you always do that shavasana where you're just laying there in that corpse pose, right, without moving. And for the first little while, they'd say, like, clear your mind. And all I could think of was, what do they mean, clear my mind? How am I supposed to do that? And that was the thought that was rolling around in my head. So I find the guided meditations or walking outside. Um, I did a class on positive intelligence, and one of the things they said is just touch your thumb with one of your fingers as lightly as possible. Just really focus on trying to feel each and every ridge on your fingerprint. And you can do that
Interesting.
for just 30 seconds to a minute. And
Mhm.
that will bring you out of whatever thoughts are going on in your head into trying to experience that feeling of your finger ridges. That is a quick form of meditation. It breaks your mind and it brings it right into breaks your mind's thoughts and brings it right into the present. So you're right. Anything can be meditation.
Okay, now another thing that I do that might help my listeners is if something's really bothering you and you're upset or you just got off the phone with your ex or your lawyer and you're like upset, if you go out and take a walk, completely focus on trees, flowers, leaves, beautiful home, anything you're passing that you're like, wow, look up at the sky, at the clouds, just look at God's beauty. And if you just really look deeply into, because people walk and they're not even looking, they're just thinking, like, I have to do this, I have to do this. Oh, I'm so pissed at this. But if you're looking at these things and focusing, look how green the leaves are. Look at these yellow flowers. Look at these red, pink flowers. They're beautiful. That is your meditation because you can't think about anything else when you're thinking about that.
I love that. I think walking out in nature, and if you can't walk in nature, if you can walk, some people walk in malls or on tracks or even on a treadmill, like whatever you've got. But if you can do that and bring nature into it, I think that's so powerful. There's even some research that says, Jackie, if you even just go on YouTube and bring up like a nature video and just sit there and watch the video, that actually also does the same sort of relaxation of the
Absolutely.
mind.
Well, you just said walking in a mall. You could just look at the stores, the decor, the people. Might see like a cute baby. Those are very positive things. All right, enough. We spent way too much time on the positivity, but I could keep going. Last step in finding resilience is forgiving yourself. Tell me about that.
So this is something that I think is hard for women to do because we tend to go back, and I think probably men do it as well. It's just I don't have that much experience in working with men. I've always worked more with women as my clients. But one of the things that I think is we beat ourselves up mentally. We go back over and over situations. Oh, if I should have done that. If I would have done that, it would have been better. If I would have dressed nicer, if I would have lost weight, if I would have been less argumentative, whatever. We make ourselves the bad guys and then we make ourselves the problem in whatever in the relationship. We have to forgive ourselves. And so, whatever that looks like, whether it's writing a letter to yourself and just saying, look, you did the best you could with what you knew at the time, and it's over and it's done. And I'm going to put this in the past and letting go of that because we can't see ourselves being successful if we're also holding the thought that we don't do anything right. Those things just don't, there's no way to get
But we
past that.
don't deserve it because we
Yeah.
messed up so badly and we haven't forgiven ourselves.
Yeah. So, and I think that forgiveness part is something that it takes a long time and it takes a focused, concentrated effort. And sometimes it takes more than what a coach can offer. A therapist can be an excellent resource for working through that. But I really do think that we have to say to ourselves, the past is the past. We cannot change it. What do we want to change about ourselves so that we feel good about ourselves, so we can be fully authentic when we go into the future, into our next relationship, and know that we have, if we had some things we did not so well, and hey, I will say that there's things I did not so well in my relationship, but I worked on them. And so, if the time ever comes when I'm in another relationship, I know that I'm not going to, I know that I've addressed those, I'm going to call them gaps in my understanding of relationships. And I feel confident going into, if I go into a new relationship, that those won't be issues that are going to repeat themselves. But
You
you
know,
can't do that if you don't forgive.
people say to me, I can't get over the divorce. And I say, the biggest reason why people can't get over a divorce is you haven't forgiven yourself. Really, because I think a lot of not forgiving your ex is sort of like transferring over. Like you think it's that you're mad at your ex, but maybe a lot of it is you're mad at yourself too. And if God forgives us, then why can't we forgive ourselves? So forgiveness is key to building resilience and getting over your divorce. And yes, you're allowed to be totally pissed at your ex, and you can say to yourself, I'll never forgive him, and that's okay. But just remember that if you forgive yourself and you forgive him, it's better for you. So let's end on that note. Have you ever heard that, Marty? Like forgiveness is not doesn't mean that the person didn't do anything wrong, that you should forget that he cheated or whatever. That's not what forgiveness is. But why forgive?
Because I think if you don't let go of that, then you keep giving them power, because they're living in your mind rent free, right? That's the saying, isn't it? And I think that the other thing is, please don't expect forgiveness or an apology from your ex. Don't make that contingent on you forgiving yourself and moving forward, because some of these people are never going to say they're sorry. So
Most of these people.
yeah, so don't give them that, again, don't give them that control over you. You forgive them, and then they can do with whatever they want to do with, but you are going to be healthier, happier, and more resilient when you actually are able to do that. And it's not going to be immediate. It might take 6 months, a year, 2 years, but I'm going to encourage you to really start looking at some of that movement, of moving from that part of blame to forgiveness for yourself.
Marty, this has been so wonderful. I so appreciate your taking the time to be on the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. I really enjoy speaking with you, and I hope this has been helpful for people.
I definitely think it is. And I want to tell my listeners, if you like what you heard, if you want to talk to Marty, have a consult with her, or work with her, you can find her at Divorce Coach for Women, the number 4.com. You can also find Marty in the Trusted Professionals section of Divorced Girl Smiling, along with several other trusted, vetted divorce professionals like attorneys, financial advisors, real estate agents, mortgage lenders, and more. And also, if you go to divorcedgirlsmiling.com, you can listen to more podcasts, read articles, download my mobile app, or sign up for my free consult. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and we'll talk to you real soon.